Welcome to you all. I'm really glad to be here. The last time I was here, actually, was for the installation of, can you hear me? Well, I have a mic on. It should be on. Can you hear me? Do I need to speak louder or what? Yeah, well, we tried it earlier and it worked pretty well, and it works for Reverend Matthew. So how are we doing now? Okay. Thank you. Really? Everyone in the back? Oh, there we go. There we go. That's what we wanted. Was that full roll of the voice, right? All right. Well, then let me start over again then. Okay. I want to welcome everybody here. I'm really glad to be here. The last time I was here was when Reverend Matthew was being installed for that installation service. So that's been a little while. And I'm glad that I'm here now. You've had some time to join with him in community and to begin to build your life together. And that's what we're doing here today, is gathering in community on this midsummer's day, resting together in community. And we gather here in the middle of July for a particular purpose on this Sunday morning, and that is to experience together in community the fact that life matters, the fact that human life matters. We gather in community to reaffirm by our very presence in this hall that every one of us unique persons, as well as every human person on this planet, on this outrageously beautiful and beleaguered planet, matters. We gather in this beautiful and strange, this creative and reassuring, this sometimes challenging, sometimes comforting, this reaffirming way of being together in community that we call Sunday service. So let's begin. Let this Sunday worship service begin.
I have a little thing to say that we decided among worship associates. Draw your attention to every chair now has a hymnal rack. So you should be able to reach under your seat and get a hymnal, or for those in the very back, if there's not one on a chair near you and there's no person directly in front of you, you can take from behind. So I am here to get us started singing We Give Thanks, number 110 in the Teal hymnal. And the words are up there. If you go along with the tune and you're fine with that, you don't need a hymnal. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for all gathered here, and for all this dear, and those far away, for this time we share with love and care.
Looks as though our little candle has gone out here. I think I can do it from here. This is a candle of peace. And the prayer over this candle is that it will burn throughout this service, but that by the intensity of its heat, the brightness of its flame, it will symbolize for us the belief that peace is the true North Star of our national and global life. May peace prevail.
In recognition. Try this. I don't have to memorize just yet. Welcome to a day of adapting to new and strange things. We light this candle in recognition of the Tamien and Muwekma Ohlone indigenous peoples, who were the first humans to inhabit and sustain this land thousands of years before settler colonizers arrived. We honor the resilience of these indigenous peoples in the face of devastating harm. We financially support the Muwekma Preservation Foundation and the Amamutsun Land Trust and continue to support the integrity of the entire Yurostok tribal cultural landscape alongside the Amamutsun tribal band.
And one more light here, and that is the chalice. Chalices are lit in Unitarian Universalist congregations all over the United States, in fact, all over the world. It's an important symbol for Unitarian Universalism. The symbol of the chalice was used during the Second World War to help the Unitarian Service Committee members pass through the lines so that they could work in protection of the Jewish folks that were trying to flee Nazism. So it's a really profound symbol for us. We light this challenge for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of service. And then we say an affirmation together here in this congregation. We do it in both English and Spanish. Is it your custom to rise? Yes. Well, then let's do that. Rise as you are willing and able. And if you're not and you need to sit, that's fine as well. And so it will be on the screen. So let's begin then in English. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls may grow into harmony with the divine. This do we covenant with one another. And now in this one. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento, y el servicio es su razón. Habituarnos en paz, buscar la verdad con libertad y servir a la humanidad juntos, con el fin de que todas las almas pueden crecer en armonía con lo divino. Esto es lo que trabajamos unos con otros.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of San Jose. We are thankful for this precious day and that you said yes to gathering with us, whether here or far away. You are truly welcome here. We cherish the many diversities brought here today, whatever your gender, sexuality, race, ethnicity, spiritual belief, capabilities, or age. The differences between us are what make us stronger, and we welcome them in. The mission of this congregation is to make love visible in all that we say and do. Whether you are here for just this once or here for the long haul, we invite you to join us in this important work. My name is Michael Thomas, and I'm your worship associate for the day. Thank you for being here. My pronouns are he, him. After the service, we invite you to find time to be together with us during our social hour in Hattie Porter Hall through the double doors to my left. If you're new here, you can stop by the welcome table during social hour if you have any questions. Today, we'll be having a guest speaker, Reverend Kurt A. Kuhwald, turned 83 2 days ago. He has served in many ministries all over the U.S. and in the Bay Area, 8 UU congregations on the streets of the Tenderloin in San Francisco, at city plazas at the Occupy movement, and in labor fights supporting Bay Area low-wage workers, on the Transformation Committee of the UUA's anti-racism efforts, and as a UU seminary professor. He is a grandfather, a poet, a published author, editor, a spiritual director and counselor, and a member and co-facilitator of several conscious elder dialogue circles. We are thankful to have him here for us today. And now it's time for the story for all ages with Marissa. Sorry, Marissa, I just had to check to make sure that was it. Not having the order of service until recently.
Hello. Okay. Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Marissa, and I am the Director of Religious Education if you're new here. My pronouns are she and her. Hope you all are doing well today. I did practice today before coming up here, so we'll give it a try. So I'm going to read a book called Wilfrid Gordon MacDonald Partridge by Mem Fox and Julie Vivas. There was one small boy called Wilfrid Gordon MacDonald Partridge, and what's more, he wasn't very old either. His house was next door to an old people's home. And I would love if you guys could come join at the labyrinth, those who are willing and able and young at heart. Thank you. I did practice, I promise. Thanks. Okay. All right. And that was on my script as well, and I still forgot it. There was one small boy called Wilfrid Gordon MacDonald Partridge. And what's more, he wasn't very old either. His house was next door to an old people's home, and he knew all the people who lived there. He liked Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. He listened to Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. He played with Mr. Tippett, who was crazy about cricket. He ran errands for Miss Mitchell, who walked with the wooden stick. He admired Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. But his favorite person of all was Miss Nancy Allison Delacourt Cooper, because she had 4 names, just like him. He called her Miss Nancy and told her all his secrets. One day, Wilfrid Gordon heard his mother and father talking about Miss Nancy. "Poor old thing," said his mother. "Why is she a poor old thing?" asked Wilfrid Gordon. "Because she's lost her memory," said his father. "It isn't surprising," said his mother. "After all, she is 96. "What's a memory?" asked Wilfrid Gordon. He was always asking questions. "It's something you remember," said his father. But Wilfrid Gordon wanted to know more, so he called on Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something warm, my child, something warm." He called on Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. "What's a memory?" "Something from long ago, me lad, something from long ago." He called on Mr. Tippett, who was crazy about cricket. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something that makes you cry, my boy, something that makes you cry." He called on Miss Mitchell, who walked with the wooden stick. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something that makes you laugh, my darling, something that makes you laugh." He called on Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something as precious gold, young man, something as precious gold." So Wilfrid Gordon went home again to look for memories for Miss Nancy because she had lost her own. He looked for the shoebox of shells he found long ago last summer and put them gently in a basket. He found the puppet on strings, which made everyone laugh, and he placed that in the basket too. He remembered with sadness the medal his grandfather had given him, and he laid it carefully next to the shells. Then he found his football, which was as precious as gold, and last of all, on his way to Miss Nancy's, he went into the hen house and took a fresh, warm egg from under a hen. Then Wilfrid Gordon called on Miss Nancy and gave her each thing, one by one. What a dear, strange child to bring me all those wonderful things, thought Miss Nancy. Then she started to remember. She held a warm egg and told Wilfrid Gordon about the tiny speckled blue eggs she had once found in a bird's nest in her aunt's garden. She put a shell to her ear and remembered going to the beach by tram long ago and how hot she had felt in her button-up boots. She touched the medal and talked sadly of the big brother she loved who had gone to war and never returned. She smiled at the puppet on strings and remembered the one she had shown to her sister and how she had laughed with a mouthful of porridge. She bounced the football to Wilfrid Gordon and remembered the day she had met him and all the secrets they had told. And the two of them smiled and smiled because Miss Nancy's memories had been found again by a small boy who wasn't very old either. In our UU community, we believe every person has wisdom to share. Sometimes the youngest among us help the oldest remember joy, and sometimes the oldest help the youngest discover who they are. We are stronger because we grow together. The end. Now we will be leading into our children's blessing.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world.
This church is here because of the gifts of generosity from the generations that have come before us. Let us invest in the future with this morning's offering. Please give what you can, and remember, if your presence among us is all you can give today, that is enough. To the work of the church, which is making love visible in all we say and do, we dedicate ourselves and these offerings. We come together in community to share with one another, to support one another, and to celebrate with one another. Thus, we share our joys and sorrows with each other, in that sharing may lift the joys and share the burden of the sorrows. We know that there are both great sorrows and great joys in our world that must be acknowledged. We light our first candle to honor those in pain, victims of violence and war and oppression all around our world. We light a second candle because we understand that amidst all of the pain, there's also celebration and joy in the world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. If you have a joy or sorrow that you'd like to share, we'll ask you to please come forward. You can light a candle in silence. If you'd like, you can share a few words. It's a time for tenderness of what is in your heart, not a time for announcements or political speeches, knowing that this is a sacred space and mindful of the diversity of experiences and beliefs among us. Strive to keep it brief. Think headlines, not whole articles. Light your candle, and then I'll be holding a microphone for you to share with us if you wish.
May all named here find our hearts, the hearts of we gathered people, compassionately, caringly open to them. May those named and all those whose stories have not been lifted up here today, but who need support, appreciation, care, attention, may they feel our intent to send strength, hope, understanding, regard, and love. And may we, all of us, also receive the blessings of these human gifts. And if you would, I'd like to have you join together just for a moment. In a moment of silence, I'll ring the bell once, and we can sit together in that deep and holy, truly holy depth of quiet. So I want to share a reading with you. It's actually the second story. We had our first story, and now we'll have another. And because we gather here in the midst of a culture that flees from aging, that denigrates those who are older, that works to strip older people of their power and relegates them often to irrelevance, that imposes on their lives integrity-denying force of ageism, which all of us internalize. Because this is where our lives are embedded, I want to offer this reading. It's called Another Truer Song. And it was written by a Unitarian Universalist minister named Elia Kemmler, Reverend Elia Kemmler. And it may not be evident at first how this story relates to what I said about ageism, but I'm going to make that as clear as I possibly can in my sermon. That's why I'm here today. So now I would just ask that you listen. I think it'll be unavoidable, but I will invite you to listen with an open heart. So this is what Reverend Kemmler wrote. I first visited a children's psychiatric unit 22 years ago. The boy's mother and I stood facing each other in the hallway by the locked door, not saying a word because there was nothing to say. He was 10 years old and seemed not to want to live. He had been putting belts and yo-yo strings around his neck. I reached toward her and put my hand on the flat plane just below her collarbones, the place where sadness collects in my own body. I was a new minister then, and guarding against such intimate gestures had not yet become a habit. Much later, she told me it had helped that in that moment she felt less like the only mother in the world who'd ever had a suicidal child. I visited the boy every day, getting buzzed in through the locked doors. And soon we had a routine of finding a quiet place on the floor to play chess and checkers. He beat me every game, partly because I had forgotten anything resembling strategy, and also because I was paying more attention to the songs we sang while we played. He began this musical conversation on the second visit, humming under his breath as he moved his pieces, and then he started adding words. Mostly the words were about what was happening on the board. I am going to jump you, he sang. If you move like this, you cannot jump me, I sang back. I wondered if he was singing me another, truer song underneath. So I was listening carefully and trying to choose what to sing back. You are doomed, there is no way out, he sang as he claimed another of my checkers. I am not doomed, I answered. There is always another chance as long as you keep playing. He never protested when I got ready to go, but sometimes as I walked him back to his room, he held my hand and leaned his head against my arm. On those days, I cried in the parking lot. I wanted so much to believe that there was a God that was watching over him, watching over this boy, and that God was tender and protective and fiercely on the side of life, and that this boy would not slip away. Months later, after he left the hospital, the boy presented me with a combined game of chess and checkers during a church service. He told our congregation we had played a lot together when he was in the hospital with sadness, and that he beat me every single time. This game is for you, so you don't forget how to play. The boy's a man now. He's married, has good work, and 2 little ones of his own. He has not been lost, and I have not forgotten. Let me offer this prayer over that story. Tender love, help us to protect and cherish each child as your beloved, especially the ones who are sad and the ones who are in danger of getting lost. Give us strength to gather them into our own wide open hearts and hold them safe until their ground is solid again. Blessed be. So we have another hymn.
And you may rise after gathering your hardback hymnal or looking at the screen. We laugh, we cry. 354. We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we could call our very own, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to
Shelley Denham Jackson. Woo. Well, I want to begin this sermon, which is meant to illuminate the new dynamics emerging for those like myself who are in the latter decades of our lives, by introducing my vision of elderhood to you with a quote by C.G. Jung, Swiss psychiatrist and psychosocial spiritual theorist. And I want to offer it not only because it's profound, but because it also challenges the ageist culture in which we live. He wrote, "A human being would certainly not grow to be 70 or 80 years old if this longevity had no meaning for the species to which they belong." A human being would certainly not grow to be 70 or 80 years old if this longevity had no meaning for the species to which they belong. Old age, as it is called then, is not just a time when the body becomes increasingly feeble while the mind, heart, soul simply hang on for the ride. Older human beings have the capacity to experience a natural, and I want to put the emphasis on the word natural. Older human beings have the capacity to experience a natural deepening of their humanity and to offer gifts to the world necessary for the very survival of the species. Not only in response to this especially catastrophic time of global social unraveling and the rise of fascism, but building from what elders have done throughout human history. For example, there is a current and credible anthropological archaeological theory about the early history of our species, that it was not until the third generation of individuals began to survive that we became human. Grandparents, or those in their age cohort, you see, were and are needed. Older individuals with a savvy to survive were and are needed in order to pass on critical lore, information, knowledge, and a holistic vision of life based on longevity that is absolutely critical and necessary to build and sustain lasting, resilient, and wise human culture, and to reveal and to tap the depth, power, and wisdom of the human psyche. There's a second quote that I want to offer as well. It's by Malcolm Cowley, who's a novelist and a poet and a literary critic. He says, "To enter the country of old age is an entirely new experience, different from what anyone supposes it to be. No one knows that country until they have lived in it and until they have taken out citizenship papers within its terrain. To enter the country of old age is an entirely new experience." So I'm here this morning to open an ample passageway into that wild, effulgent, yet severely underreported territory, because that domain of human life we are discovering offers us a new vision of humanity, as well as a doorway to an uncharted human potential available to us in our elder years. I'm here to report as well that there are further social, psychological, and spiritual existential possibilities that are available in the further decades of our lives that can powerfully assist us in addressing the catastrophe that is now swarming through and over the human species and the ecosystems of this planet. Despite the fact that Mark Zuckerberg said that young people are just smarter, what he didn't say is young people are wiser. I'm going to take this opportunity to say Mark Zuckerberg lacks that capacity right now. Wisdom is absent. So I want to step into this heart of the story that is from Another Truer Song. That's why I read the story to you. The deep territory of aging is in part illuminated by the content of that story, Another Truer Way. Another part of that's revealed is the process of my choosing or being chosen by that story as I approach writing this sermon for you. You see, that story, it simply wouldn't let me go. Just as the vision of elderhood, liberated from ageism, come into its own in our times, come into a fruitful expansion of consciousness and tenderness and depth. That will not let me go either. So I stand before you today. I want to lift up the content of the story, Another Truer Song, for it is an epic story. And tragically, it is especially relevant to us today, given the barbaric treatment of immigrant children by the current national administration. The tragic fact is, however, that the consistent, horrific treatment this country has perpetrated against indigenous, immigrant, and children of color is nothing new. It began with the very founding of this country, and it has continued ever since. Rev Kemmler, inexperienced in mental health issues and new to her profession, made a choice. She made a choice to go into the hospital and spend time with a child of her congregation who, by his behavior, was threatening to attempt suicide. That is, she chose to go into a situation where a fragile, very young human being was struggling for life, struggling for a sense of belonging to others and to life, struggling for a sense of value as a child person, and for a way to connect again with a healthy and natural growth process central to his developing, evolving personhood. She made a choice to risk that somehow she could make a difference for him. First, consciously and openly by entering into his life and the process of the struggle that he was wrapped up in. But second, because she was inexperienced and in many respects unaware of what the psychiatric culture would prescribe as a best practice for engaging the child, she entered offering the only thing that she had: her loving, intelligent, human presence. Older people have to make a similar choice, one that is fraught with issues of life and death, with meaning and belonging, just as woven with depths of compassion and tenderness and courage. We elders, all enter into a landscape that is entirely new, from whose negative dynamics perpetrated by our ageist culture we can't escape unless we keep playing. When any of us are faced with highly challenging situations, at least two things are required. First, that we remain as fully conscious as we are able, and not just in mind, but also in heart and body. And second, that we go with our gut. That is, that we trust our deep intuition to guide us to respond. Sometimes that intuition is developed through intensive training or tough life experience. In life and death situations, however, that intuitive response often comes from a place within us that is simply unknown to us. It is bigger than us, deeper than us, and more tuned in than us. When the child in his sing-song way made declarations about ultimacy, I am going to jump you, you are doomed, there is no way out. Rev Kemmler was intuitively alert, wondering if there was another truer song he was singing. And out of her deep sense of the dilemma he was giving voice to, she responded, I am not doomed. There is always another chance. As long as you keep playing, as long as you keep playing. Bless her. Bless her. She spoke as an elder. And what I mean is not that she was the child's elder, but that the wisdom she tapped with heart, mind, and gut and intuition is something that naturally evolves for elders in their advanced years if we open to it. So at this point, I want to offer an opening of the elder journey of our times as I see it. For me, there are 2 points that are necessary to make. First, there are naturally emerging characteristics, abilities, and capacities that arise in older individuals. They are, as part of the developmental process of the older human, the human living into and through their 60s, 70s, and 80s and beyond, they are our birthright as human beings. That's very different than the picture of ageism that we're often given. And these qualities, these capacities will arise or at least push for emergence no matter what we do. The second point is that if we are going to bring those emergent qualities into full fruition, we have to consciously engage them and graciously and determinedly give them space to live and thrive. Conscious eldering, it's called. And Swedish gerontologist and sociologist Lars Tornström has named this emergence and the process of this development gerotranscendence. Gerotranscendence. So it's so evident a phenomena to the people who start paying attention to it that it's now got a name. In these traumatic times, in the trajectory of national and global trauma that we've entered and in which we are traveling, the deep, natural, unbidden qualities that emerge in the later decades of our lives can offer us essential psychological, spiritual, deep ethical tools that have the potential to help humankind build resilience for this global storm. Rock steady elders make a difference in a culture. These times we live in are indeed beyond critical, deeply tragic, without precedent due to their global extent. Many, many cultures and many, many peoples have experienced the kind of tragedy that's going on now, but now it's global. It's therefore essential that we encourage all of our human capacities in all human developmental stages, elders included. And also, to do so, we need to build rough weather networks. That was a term that was coined by ecofeminist and systems theorist and elder Joanna Macy. Rough weather networks is another way of saying communities that we enter and that we create that sustain us when things get tough. Sounds like church. The tough times have arrived. We are already in the middle of a global maelstrom. In the midst of this demanding time of planet history, it's important to make clear that far-reaching things are happening to us elders. They're giving it a name. As we enter these latter decades of our lives, developmental forces are at work that have not been studied and have been largely unknown heretofore because we've never had such a critical mass of elders on the planet. In the past 60 years alone, the global population of people over 60 has more than doubled and is expanding 3 times faster than the entire global population is expanding. We've never before had so many individuals who have survived to bear witness and act out the full vision of human potential and human life. Further, we have never before had the enormous pressure facing us as a result of the multiple intersecting oppressive forces that threaten not only our national life, but our entire planet that we call home. These multiple forces, this polycrisis, lay a pathway for the emergence of gero-transcendence or conscious elderhood. It doesn't look like it, but it's our time. It doesn't even feel like it, but it's our time. So at this point then, because I'm making these kind of radical declarations, I want to make an elder testimony. I want to offer one. As always, when I offer a sermon, I do so with the resoluteness of a willful optimism. You know, the Italian revolutionary Antonio Gramsci, who claimed that he had pessimism of the intellect and optimism of the will. In this sermon, I'd like to use that willfulness to talk about just one out of the dozen of dynamics that profoundly shape our elder years. In the circles that I'm traveling now and the dialogue groups that I'm in with elders, with conscious elders, there's at least 20 different significant characteristics that we've been able to name that are emerging for us. But I want to talk about just one, and that is simple survival. But survival characterized by being conscious. Expressed personally, I can say, like a large, powerful wave, I have here in my 9th decade been washed with a deep and stabilizing awareness. I have lived a life. I have a history. I have a history of decade upon decade of living on this glorious and beleaguered planet. I have lived over 30,000 days, filled with experiences of learning, loss, joy, wonder, depression, love, anger, self-criticism, and self-affirmation. I have challenged hierarchy and been arrested, and all the while holding firm to a deep sense of justice and integrity. I've been flooded with anxiety to the point of overwhelm, and have stood firm in the face of searing criticism and institutional aggression. The child I was knew love, freedom, and abuse. The teen, self-conscious angst and despair and wild idealism. I have served successfully in 5 honorable professions and been challenged to the point of exhaustion and the heartfelt heights of gratitude. I have felt and lived in the psycho-spiritual, social, outrageous chaos of being alive through decade upon decade of a human life, my human life. I've almost been killed by accident more than half a dozen times. I've survived. I'm here. I made it. Alive. 83 years. Hallelujah. It's a deep privilege. It's a deep privilege. It's a gift to experience that many years and to have simply survived in what the Sufi poet Rumi named the glory and the indignity of being alive in a human body. The glory and the indignity of being alive in a human body. It's accorded me a bounty that I believe is true for all of us who have managed to make it into our 7th, 8th, and 9th decades and beyond. Part of that bounty surely is the capacity to see a wide sweep of human history as one who has been there. And looking into my life down the long corridor of those years, I have gained a seasoned understanding, a rather ripened sensibility of life's complexity, its sweetness, its tragedy, its unrelenting, resolute insistence on the primacy of survival. I can say I've lived long, I've been present, I've borne witness. That's a story in this room that many, 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 many people here can say. The simple reality of saying that, of knowing that, of feeling that has brought a certain peace into my heart and into my being. A deep core of peace for having simply lived this long. This peace has naturally emerged within me, and one of its important practical attributes includes taking things in stride. Taking things in stride, right? I believe that this is a natural outcome of living long, a natural outcome that is available to everyone who arrives in these decades if we are open to it. It is a spiritual practice to be conscious in elderhood, in old age. It is a spiritual practice. No matter how you define spiritual, if that's a hard word for you, because it sounds whatever, it's a practice that requires discipline, focus, care, commitment, and love. And, we bear this long history that's given us this perspective and the capacity to sit with competing realities of life. Been there, done that, been there, done that, seen that. Yep, I know. I can see where this is going. Or we're even able to feel the future. That I know what's going to happen. I know. I have this sense. I've seen it decade upon decade upon decade. And I have this knowledge. And yet, ever more surely, what I know is that I know very, very little. And so I've come to live with the unknown, with a capital U. So it's in a gentle, astounding, and life-giving paradox that now informs these days. And all of this knowing, the peace, the ease with life, being comfortable with paradox, and with this radical unknown, it is a gift. It is a gift. And we need to own it. So what I want to offer in closing then is this heartfelt wish that this great revolutionary, evolutionary gift that is being exposed and that we can see and have and feel and know and live from if we choose, that it does come to us, that awareness comes to you in your life, and you're able to live into it and explore it deeply and courageously. That's why we're here. So may it come to all of us in the fullness of time, in the fullness of time, and in the fullness of time. As an Indigenous brother who's locked up within the California State Prison has instructed me to say, Mitako Yeyo Yasin, which means all my relations.
Is the yellow? Yeah, we go. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as my heart lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always at Elusive Spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
That's the snuffer there, isn't it? There we go. What a great tradition. Look at you all. Yeah. This is a poem by UU minister Barbara Peskin. It's called A Reunion. It's what you do every Sunday. It's a reunion every Sunday. She wrote this. One of the old ones stood up into the morning light and spoke to those who had come back to the river. Now we have come again to this place. My life apart from you is not as strong. Yes, I have danced and I have told the stories at my own fire, and I have sung well to all the directions. But when I am with you, my friends, I know better who it is in me that sings. When I am with you, my friends, I know better who it is in me that sings. As we leave this hall today, may the one who sings within us carry us and carry you through your week in peace and in love until you come together again here. Blessed be.